We've risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars Wrestling Show, episode 490. I am your man behind the microphone and your current Scholars of Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. I am Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week, as always, the OG Undisputed Scholar himself. He is Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, are you ready for the 2024 Scholly Awards?
Yes, sir, I am. Welcome everyone to the 2024 Scholly Awards. Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a fun time celebrating this new year of 2025. But before we can fully move on, we have to look back and just our favorite moments. The moments that made us laugh, moments that made us cry, both happy and sad, and those moments that just made us want to look at the screen and just yell "fuck you" as we throw our shoes at it.
And speaking of throwing of shoes, also joining us this week, another undisputed scholar. You know him, you'll love him. He is Scholar Brian. Scholar Brian, are you ready to talk about the year that was?
I feel a little bit underdressed for the occasion, but you know what? I do what I want. Suits? I don't need no stinking suits.
It's
We're
okay,
all here
Brian.
for
All we can
wrestling
see is your
predictions. You
your head
don't need,
anyway.
we're all here for wrestling predictions. You don't have to look good to do that. That's my motto. Let's go.
It's part of your charm, amigo. But last but certainly not least, speaking of looking absolutely dapper, you know him, you definitely love him, and love his sense of style. My tag team partner, and you know him. He is Scholar Pete. Scholar Pete, you're looking quite dapper tonight, sir.
Thank you, my tag team partner, Scholar Ray. It's a pleasure that you introduced me like that. I was feeling good because it was the Scholarly Awards. And, something told me it's time to dress up. And I decided to go with the royalness of purple, because I came from royalty coming in and, just becoming tag team partners with you and making the JP connection has been just the 2024 dream. And I can't wait to see what we do in 2025 together, my tag team partner.
Oh, no doubt there's going to be countless potential for the year of 2025. And we're going to get it all into that over time. But first and
There
foremost,
we
we
go.
need to get into, yes, Scholar Tark is back. Now we're ready to go into the best and worst of the year that was. This is the 2024 Scholly Awards. Now, that will lead us into our very first award category of the evening for Male Wrestler of the Year. Now, we're going to be going in seniority order this evening, which gives the first pick for Male Wrestler of the Year to Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, who is your pick for best for Male Wrestler of the Year?
Throughout all my time thinking of who should be Wrestler of the Year, it was only down to two people. And funny enough, they're basically top names of the opposing companies of WWE and AEW. And it was a toss between Cody Rhodes and Will Ospreay. When I try and look, okay, who's had those memorable moments, those special feel good moments, good storyline moments of the year versus someone who is just famous or just having entire lists of match of the year candidates that you just look and be like, every single one of these things could be number one, should be number one because he's just that damn good at what he does. And just really looking back on just how both these guys made me feel, I'm gonna go with Cody Rhodes to be my wrestler of the year. Just mainly because in that especially that first half of the year, I'm just going, yep, he is everything involving wrestling is now just focused on this one man and finishing his story winning the title. His father never won versus just against all odds. And yeah, it was just hard to just look back on someone who made me feel just so emotional as a wrestling fan than Cody Rhodes did.
Very good pick. Scholar
Thank you.
Brian, you, who is your going to? Hey, I gotta give it up where I can. You know.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Anyway, moving on. Scholar Brian, who is your pick for male wrestler of the year?
You know, same. We've got the same brain. It's why we work so well together because he just basically took the words right out of my mouth. It is rare for any wrestler or any moment to make me feel a certain way. Okay. And there was only one wrestler this year who checked all those boxes for me and actually made me tear up at their success. And it's like, okay. And now carry that through. Carry that through as long as you possibly can. Can you do that? And he did it with flying colors. So it also helps that I picked the other person that I was thinking in between. I gave him the title last year, and I don't like to give awards to the same people multiple years in a row. So I'm not gonna go with Will Ospreay. I'm gonna go with Cody Rhodes because as much as Will Ospreay had great matches all the time, there was never anything bad about anything he did. He did not make me feel anywhere close to what Cody Rhodes made me feel that one night in April.
Very good. Now, I'm going to go in it. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to go in a very different direction with my pick. As much as obviously, Cody fan, he had an amazing year this year, but I noticed something different as the year went on. As the year went on, when we were started talking about, okay, this is potential match of the year, this is potential match of the year. As we went all throughout the year, I began to notice something. The vast majority of matches that were potential match of the year candidates, all of them featured the same person. I'm like, I feel strange doing this, but I feel like this person, low key, had one of the best years of his career, and so many of the matches that he was in were match of the year candidates. So as strange as it might sound to do it, I'm going to give my male wrestler of the year for 2024 to Bryan Danielson. And what could be his very last full-time wrestling year, really. He went out showing everybody who exactly he is and why he's more than just an indie wrestling darling. He can have great matches even now with anybody in the world, and he's still performing at a high level, and he's going out on top in my eyes. So I don't want to say begrudgingly, but I felt like I kind of was obligated to give it to Bryan Danielson this year. With that being said, Pete, time for your first award of the evening. Who are you giving male wrestler of the year award to?
It's his
I
first
mean, it's
award period.
yeah,
It
very big
is.
honor. You're absolutely correct, Scholar Tark, and I take it with very big pride, and that's why my male wrestler of the year is CM Punk. Now, I know what you're thinking. Must be crazy because you remember when he feuded with Rey Mysterio way back in the day. Shades, of 2025. But I mean, I digress. CM Punk has had an incredible year. I mean, he came back last year at Survivor Series. The man did not have a good going out. It was said this past week on Raw in the promo with Seth and CM Punk. He's like, you left, you talk shit about the company, you wanted us to die, you went to the competition, you did everything you had to. But what's very consistent with my picks tonight, gentlemen, and my 2025 mindset is you got to look at just the whole picture. And the whole picture is Look at how CM Punk came back, the feuds he's had. This will not be the last time I bring up this man's name. I think as a whole, for what he's done, what he brought, how he's brought himself back into the ecosystem of WWE where nobody has a bad thing to say. You see him in the performance center. You see him just being that veteran, that inside guy that people now turn to and look. And he had great matches. The Hell in the Cell with Drew McIntyre. I mean, if we're talking about a wrestler who had a great year, I mean, the return of CM Punk, I have nothing more to say than that is my award for Male Wrestler of the Year.
I will say this. I did not think about the two of them for Wrestler of the Year only because they missed time. That my criteria for Wrestler of the Year was they had to be doing it the entire year. They couldn't have missed time. They couldn't have due to retirement or injury. So I will be completely honest in saying they are both deserving for what they did while they were around, but I didn't give them consideration because they weren't around for long stretches of time during the year.
And you'll see that more as we go on through this awards show. Everyone who's giving out the awards will should have a slightly somewhat different take on why they're giving that award. And we'll see more of that as we go on. But speaking of which, Scholar Brian, it's your pick up first for the next award, which is Female Wrestler of the Year. Brian, it's your pick up first. Who are you going with?
Really, it was for me, this is an AEW heavy award because nothing really on the WWE side really ticked any of the boxes for me going for Female of the Year. And if you're going for Female of the Year, you got to go for the best story that was the best story in the women's division all year. You got to go for me, it's either Toni Storm or Mariah May. And if I'm going with what I did for Male Wrestler of the Year, I have to do the same for Female Wrestler of the Year. And while Toni Storm did, in fact, I do, in fact, believe that with her gimmicks, if you will, she did take a good month to 2 months off after the attack. But the way Mariah May came in and the way that she's played her character and the way that entire storyline, the way that they built her up and the way that she's pulled off this entire year, I'm going to do it. My Female Wrestler of the Year is Mariah May.
Very good. Again, a very strong case. I'm personally going in a different direction just because it really comes down to, in my opinion, a momentum. Like, again, a lot of women had some really strong year for sure. But in my opinion, it comes more down to momentum. And in terms of consistency for the entire year, I'm going to go for Rhea Ripley, just in terms of like someone who started on the top and remained on the top, and even when she had a brief injury or a setback or something, she was still just banging away, and there was no slowing mommy down. This could go a whole bunch of different ways, but in my opinion, I just had to go with Rhea Ripley for Female Wrestler of the Year. Pete, it's your pick up next. Who are you going with?
I mean, this is why I'm the Eddie Guerrero. I mean, it's blatantly obviously Liv Morgan is Female Wrestler of the Year here, and my tag team partner, I don't understand. I mean, you have somebody who missed time with Rhea Ripley and Mommy and everything like that. Not saying that CM Punk didn't miss time. I understand that, Scholar
You're
Brian.
right. She's just getting the muscle mommy vote. Moving on.
But you got the fucking attractionness of Liv Morgan, how she's playing her character, everything going on in Judgment Day, what she's doing with the women's title, the year she's had coming off the factions that she's been a part of in the past, to be just the center and take control this year has been nothing but fantastic. It's like Dom Mysterio coming out and being better than his father, Rey Mysterio. It's just a beautiful thing to see.
Wonderful. Moving on, we've got last but not least, Scholar Tarek. Who are you going for female wrestler of the year?
What I'm actually noticing in this particular category is that each tag team partner selected each other's rivals for female wrestler of the year. I'm going with Timeless Tony Storm to go as my female
Very
wrestler.
interesting. Hmm.
That, oh, it's a fun. I hear Pete and I'm just like, huh, that is a very interesting turn of events here. Because I was gonna be like, oh well, that just works with Brian and my case because we're just not only tag team partners, we're frenemies. We like as much as we have the same mind on certain aspects, we like to go against each other every now and then. But with my choosing Tony Storm here, when it comes to just female wrestling, she's the only one that's really made an impact of of just consistent character driven TV, who still puts on really great matches. I was thinking Rhea Ripley too, but it's the one thing that I just have to throw against her, and it's just the how much momentum she's gotten, and it kind of came to a fault of putting Rhea Ripley on such a high pedestal. It makes Liv Morgan look incredibly weak and all that, and it's just I guess it's just when it takes two to tango, you got to make sure both of them look good in it. And when I look at Tony Storm versus Mariah May got a huge character jump out of this. But once she won the title, they did little to nothing with it. It was basically a waiting game until Tony Storm came back. And I don't know if this is the case. After their match, when she won the title against Tony, was Tony written off TV for a legit injury, or they just did it for the storyline purposes, to sell the attack that Mariah
I
May did to her?
I believe it was just to sell the attack. I don't think she had any actual injuries.
So
I
that's another
I
thing that
think it
just
was a
told.
character. I think it was to build up a character reset or whatever.
Okay, because that was my frame of mind to it. I just wanted to make sure if that was the case, which it was a fault for you, Brian, for her to take the time off. I actually think it's actually worked wonders. So when she actually came back, she got that huge ovation. It was just a good way. It was a good way to have people miss Tony Storm, but also to really push Mariah May as like a real like I'm the champion. I'm dominant here. But I felt like after she won the championship, she kind of lost her momentum by not really getting to little to no real feuds. So I felt like they put her story on halt just to also wait for Tony Storm to come back whenever they decided to do that. So it was very messy, but with that, but yeah, no one really has had an impact. She's one of the main reasons that I kept wanting to watch Dynamite just to see what she does next. So I'm looking for. We've even talked on the show of what she could possibly do for future sakes. I kind of would like to see her do a three faces of Foley, in her case, three faces of Storm, or three faces of Tony, whatever they want to go. But I think she has definitely been the one standout woman of the year on both companies when it comes to character work and putting on actually great matches with other female superstars, female wrestlers.
Another well argued point. That will bring us to our next category. We've got most underused star of the year. That's my pick up first, and this one is going to go to someone who I feel like I don't understand why this person was not featured more prominently. There's I'm sure that there's a reason out there, but I just don't see any reasonable anything for why this person was not featured on TV more or featured more prominent until just very, very recently. I'm gonna go with Danhausen. Even if you're not a fan of his in-ring stuff, now that we know that he has some level of accessibility, like you can still put him on TV, you can still have him do character work, even if you don't like him in the ring personally. Like he doesn't have to win the title, but he is an attraction. That's undeniable. And yeah, I love me some Danhausen. He's my pick for most underused star of the year. Pete, it's your pick up next. Who do you got for most underused star of the year?
I want to stress to the other fellow scholars that this is a personal pick of mine because I found this gentleman, Mr. Jay Lethal, as my underused because I remember back in the TNA days when he was the Black Machismo and he was doing that whole stick. And then he went to ROH and just had a resurgence and was champion and just this great champion. And he's gone to AEW, and not saying that he hasn't had his cool moments with Double J. I'm not saying that, but where is he pushed into the main event? I want to see him in the AEW world title. Like he is a fantastic wrestler. One of my favorites to watch, whether it's his promo work, whether it's his in-ring ability, doing the lethal combination. I just feel like I said, my personal opinion, I do not feel AEW and to that vein, ROH uses Jay Lethal to his utmost abilities.
All right. Scholar Tark, which way are you going for most underused star of the year?
To answer your question, Pete, of why Jay Lethal hasn't gotten his push in AEW, simple answer, you actually said it. Jeff Jarrett actually took it from him.
Yeah, that's fair too.
Although to be honest, I'm really looking forward to see how Jeff Jarrett could try and go for the AEW World Championship and just get completely destroyed, and that'll just how he'd be written off TV.
57 years old.
uh, this is actually a very interesting one for me, because for my underused star, I picked Chad Gable, and although he has been shown prominently on TV and being put in these like actual like pretty big feuds with like he had a couple of matches with Cody Rhodes. He had this feud with the Wyatt Six. He had the story of him trying to go for the Intercontinental Championship against Sami Zayn, and beforehand him training Sami Zayn to beat Gunther for WrestleMania. I'm really just going for Chad Gable, just mainly because although they did turn him heel in the process, I still want to see him win at least a singles championship since it's something he still hasn't won yet. And I just feel like not giving him at least one small run with the Intercontinental Championship could have done something to like help raise more stats. I mean, he's like I said, he's in a good position now. And it looks like he may be traded to SmackDown, and who knows, maybe he'll go for the United States Championship at some point. But all in all, when we were just really hoping, just we wanted to see Chad Gable finally get due for all the hard work he's been going through over the years, finally get that payoff. And I guess just the fact that we still haven't gotten it yet, it just makes me feel like he's the most underused because we still have to wait for him to finally get his flowers for all the hard work he's been through over the years.
All right. Scholar Brian, who do you have for underused star of the year?
Yeah, we were going through this before the show started, and I was having a hard time coming up with stuff. And then I think, and the light bulb goes off because Scholar Jeff brings up Danhausen, who showed up once on an ROH pay-per-view for a cameo to put a curse on what's his name?
Oh,
Not Mansoor, the other one.
oh,
Mace. Yeah,
Mason Madden.
yeah. So at least your dude got on TV, got on pay-per-view one time. Where's Ricky Starks been?
Good pick.
He's he's not
That's a
injured.
good one.
He's not injured. Okay. He's going to other places attempting to, but I don't know what happened. I don't know how his stock fell so low that he can't even get on ROH TV. They don't let him go to GCW. He showed up in Defy over the weekend, but it's like this dude is so talented, and at least everybody on this list so far has been used in some capacity. Okay. I would have gone with Ray Phoenix, but I know the reason that he isn't being used. I understand that. So that's all well and good. He's off the list. But there's no reason why Ricky Starks isn't on TV right now or hasn't been the entire year.
At, at this point, let him just run out his contract so he can go to NXT.
I have a feeling that's what's happening. But it's it's an obvious pick once that popped into my head, and it only popped into my head because you said Danhausen.
There you go. There's lots of them. Meanwhile, moving on to our next category, we've got Breakout Star of the Year. And Pete, it's your pick up first. Who is your choice for Breakout Star of the Year?
I mean, it's the obvious choice. I mean, you put those three things there and you know what it is. You know what I'm talking about, my tag team partner, don't you? What three things are you missing? No,
Uh,
it's not the 619. It's
uh,
Jay Uso. Yeet, yeet for Breakout Star of the Year.
okay, then I wasn't sure where you're going with that for a minute. Scholar Tarek, who do you have for Breakout Star of the Year?
That's it. Whoa, hey,
Oh,
my
there's
tag team
more?
partner.
There's more?
Wow. You know what?
You sort of
I,
stopped. I'm like, okay.
okay, I see how it is, you know?
This is where it begins.
I mean, that was very, you know, I accept your apology. I accept your apology because at the end of the day, I will be your Y2J. But Jay Uso, what a year you've had. I mean, honestly, to go from a great tag team in the Usos, a great tag team, one of the best of all time, to go on a singles run, to get the people behind you with the yeets and seeing the arenas all around just marvel to this guy and just the show and the charisma that he is just emulating. It's it was a thought for me in all honesty was he was going to be my wrestler of the year because I think he has just had an upsurgence. The only thing I will disagree with honestly was he won the IC belt, which I was super stoked for him. But for him to lose it, obviously, against Braun, which I'm not saying is not deserved. Braun is also a fantastic performer in his own right. But I think it took a little bit away from Jay's momentum. But I think, bar none, that this man has just had a great year for himself as a singles competitor, being able to do the singles run, doing the tag team, being his own character, his own personality, which a lot of times in these tag teams do not um do not get the thing. Look at Edge and Christian. There was always somebody who lacked, but it's just unbelievable. I've been talking a lot. I apologize, Scholar Ray. Scholar Tark, what were you saying?
Uh, well, I will give to Jay Uso the fact that he made the Intercontinental Championship design actually tolerable. That gives him points for me. Um, but for Breakout Star of the Year, funny enough, I had my sights set on Jacob Fatu just for the impact he's made since debuting in WWE. But and then it dawned on me that there has been one superstar who has been just every time he showed up, the crowd gets invested. The crowd wants to see what kind of damage that he's going to do next, either to somebody or something, meaning the environment. Someone who's been having nonstop backstage brawls with different superstars and big name superstars. And every time we just see him, we just think, what's he going to do next? I'm choosing Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed is just, at first we were all scared. Is this just going to be like a small push that they usually give him of just like a 3 week push and then he's over? No, the second he came in and did what was it, 6, 7 tsunamis on Seth Rollins, he made an impact on. He became one of the big factors of Monday Night Raw. That it's just like he could show up at any point in someone else's storyline and just completely destroy it for that week. And then he just had great matches and great physical altercations with many different environment bits with Braun Strowman. And it's unfortunate that he had to get himself injured during the War Games match. But in all honesty, I actually think it's actually benefiting him more that he's actually written off TV. Again, it's sucky under the circumstances that his ankles pretty much exploded in that match. Um, but I think he did enough to where he was one of the big things that just, what did he do on Raw this week? Because he's just one of those eye-catching things that made it feel very old school, very Attitude Era, but in the seats, eyes on the screen action.
All right. And Scholar Brian, who's your pick for breakout star of the year?
I said this last year. If he shows up and does what I expect he's going to do, he's going to easily be my breakout star of the year. A few other people came in under the radar. I thought about Jacob Fatu for a minute. I also gave thoughts to Bronson Reed, but Braun Breaker.
All
Ever
right.
since the beginning of the year, he's just, from where he started in NXT, with no charisma whatsoever, just just that boring lump of a body that he was when he first came into NXT. And he gets into that tag team with Baron Corbin, and they start letting the personality show. And then at the end of last year, he gets called up and takes the world by storm. And now he's a part of possibly the greatest run of Intercontinental Champions that this company has had in a very long time. And what he's done with being a champion is enough for me to give him breakout star of the year. I expect him to be in the main event of the 2026 WrestleMania.
I'll tell you what, I like your line of logic, but I believe that there's one person who exemplifies all of that to an even greater degree. I'm going to go with Mariah May here because even at the very, very start of the year, Tarek, you were there. We saw her at the very first AEW Dynamite show of the year, which we were at. We saw her have her first AEW match officially at the start of the year. And then only from there has she gone up and up consistently. She has been performing consistently well. She has been delivering in ring and on the promos. She was involved in some of the best feuds of the year this year. And she's been going nothing but up and up exponentially throughout the entire year. Yeah, you can time it out differently for other people that we've talked about, but for me and my money, nobody has been on such a consistent uphill bit of momentum on every single conceivable level performance wise like Mariah May. And really just the fact of again, when I say timing, this is what I'm talking about. If she performs this consistently well for another year, then I will absolutely give her female wrestler of the year next year. But for now, with where she started and how consistently she's been, I'm going to give Mariah May breakout star of the year. No question. But that will bring us back to the top of the order. Tarek, it's your pickup for the next category, tag team of the year. Who do you got?
This one is actually a very interesting one because when it comes to just tag team performances or just tag team matches in particular, I always just remember no tag team really had me gravitating towards them. That was just like, oh, that was just absolutely amazing. But when I look around to the character work and just the storytelling that they've been telling, you basically have this long running story of one of the tag team stars questioning his capabilities of being someone singles wise by himself to now letting off his insecurities to his tag team partner. And that leads to his tag team partner throwing out his insecurities at him, throwing each other's insecurities at each other to the point where when they had their third member come in to try and help bring them back together, we got one quite possibly the biggest heel turn in a long time. And that's going to be Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston as my tag team. Because when it comes to just the character work that these two guys have been going, and now coming to the point where they're getting nuclear heat, people are just saying, "Oh, this is going to be it's Dominic Mysterio level of heat." I'm sold for what you guys are telling me over this year, from the starting with Karrion Kross getting into Xavier Woods' head to the story of what, oh God, what was his name? That was Xavier was worried about to be the replacement for Big E, and then he left because of the allegations he got.
Odyssey
Odyssey Jones.
Jones.
Odyssey, thank you, Odyssey Jones, and that story and that aspect of the storyline, and then you get Xavier Woods' confidence issues. To now he lets it out on on Kofi. Kofi lets out all of his frustrations from both himself and Xavier Woods dynamic, letting it all out on each other to the point where they're just looking at Big E and be like, you know what? We have our issues, but it's all because of him that we have to deal with these issues. And it's just great storytelling that they've been, well, telling over the year. And I'm just absolutely sold on where they could go possibly go next.
Good stuff. Scholar Brian, who's your pick for tag team of the year?
This is a very weird year because not a lot of tag teams were doing stuff for very long. A lot of tag teams were breaking up. A lot of tag teams were just doing storyline work, as you said. But for me, I have to go to NXT for this one, and I'm going to go with Rexium because, first of all, there was never a bad match that they were doing. And there's storyline work in there too, because you always had one you never knew if one was gonna show up for the match because there was that part of the story. The dude was always late. You didn't know if he was gonna show up. You didn't know if he was invested. And they played this throughout the year to where it's like you thought that they were gonna break up multiple times, but they never did, and they came closer together. They've been a tag team the entire year. It's a really weird year for tag teams, so yeah, I had to go into NXT to get my tag team because they were doing that. It's a mark of confidence for me to give you the tag team award if you're actually wrestling tag team matches the entire year and good ones while you're at it. And you've been champion for most of the year. And you've been telling good stories while you're at it. So that's good enough for me. For Axiom as my tag team of the year.
All right. I'm glad to hear you say that this has been a weird year for tag teams because I certainly felt the same way. But then I changed my perspective a little bit, changed my logic. I'm going to go with the Outrunners for my tag team of the year. I will not explain further. Scar Pete, who do you got for tag team of the year?
No, okay.
Uh, mine will be the Motor City Machine Guns. I don't want to pause too long or we'll move on to the next segment. So give me a second to compose myself so I can give
You
you
don't get
reasons
to
why.
breathe, sir. You can breathe when you're dead. Wait.
I mean, I love this tag team. You all boys know I love this tag team. I got a beanie of this tag team. I think it was a great acquisition on WWE's part to get them in WWE. Even the short time, I still love these guys performing. But let me tell you, honorable mention to the New Day. But I got to give it to my boys, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Motor City Machine Guns for life.
Do you have the beanies in your room with you right now?
Yes, it's in the room right now.
Can you show them? Show them, please. Bring them out.
One
Want to see
moment,
them?
please.
This is just showing how much of his fandom of Motor City Machine Guns.
You know
He
what?
says
I
it.
should have seen that coming because we did discuss this, how big of a fan of TNA is, and so many other teams and wrestlers of that era, including the Motor City Machine Guns. So it makes all the sense in the world. I don't know why I didn't put two and two together, but in knowing Scholar Pete's tastes as I do, I totally get it why he would make that choice. All right.
Okay, apparently
Well,
we lost him. I thought he would
yeah.
like reach out. I thought he would reach out. Apparently, he has to go like to the other side of his room to get
All
the
right.
beanies.
While we're
Oops.
waiting on the beanie in question here, let's move on to feud of the year. And Scholar Brian, it's your pick up first. Who do you got for feud of the year?
I mean, this is pretty easy for me. The he, he spent the first 6 months of the year just trolling this dude's injuries, trolling the guy through social media, trolling the guy through promos, trolling the guy through videos everywhere. And then he and then the guy who was trolling came back and then it turned into a blood feud. There's only one choice here. I did. It's Drew McIntyre, CM Punk. Come on. I mean, you could have gone to AEW and go Swerve Hangman because that's a that's definitely a that's definitely another blood feud. But I love the trolling aspect of the whole thing, so I got to go. I got to go with McIntyre, CM Punk.
That is a very fine choice, sir. I'm going to go in a slightly different direction here. I'm going to talk about it's one of the more understated feuds of the past couple years. I don't know. It's a little bit on the obscure side. You may not have heard of it, but just in terms of the the real impact and weight and just attention it had for just the entire year, even though it didn't run for the entire year, but it did even run beyond the main match that it was building to. There's really only one way I can go with this. I have to give it to Cody and Roman. Even just the way their dynamic has shifted and ebbed and flowed beyond WrestleMania. That the amount of impact it had, not just in terms of feud quality, but also impact on the entire industry as a whole. This one seemed fairly obvious to me. I'm going to go with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Pete, which way you going? It's your pick up.
I mean, my tag team partner, that's a great choice. I wish though, at your earliest convenience, if you can return my Motor City Machine Guns beanie. I mean, it's ridiculous that you've been keeping it this long. That's
I
why,
do not
Scholar
know what
Tarek,
you're
I
referring to.
unfortunately cannot show it because I went into my tag team partner when his head was feeling cold, and I said, I know what to bring you because that's the love, the
Lies,
care that I
lies, and
have
heresy, sir.
for the JP connection. But let's be real, the feud of the year, I'll echo it again. Scholar Brian, beautifully said. I said to you, I'll bring his name up again, and I will bring it up now. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. I prayed for this to happen. What a fucking feud, man. What an intense, great feud. Screwing each other in their hometowns, the promos, the making Drew McIntyre a monster again, making him just this formidable foe. I was watching in a Instagram reel about his top five favorite moments, and he was saying how the CM Punk just he felt like it was the best thing for it. It's I prayed for this and it happened. Like it set off a chain reaction that made this just an unforgettable from entrances to the final pinfall. This was my feud of the year, without question.
And last but not least, Scholar Tarek, which way you going?
Uh, I hate to leave you out in the cold there, fool, but I'm gonna go with Brian and Pete and say Drew McIntyre and CM Punk has been my feud of the year.
It's
But
okay. It's not
you,
like I'm biased or anything.
no, no, honestly, even the bias aside, you you're absolutely right with where it's even gone from the WrestleMania match on. Just you could feel the tension between them when they were having that tag match with uh against Solo and Jacob Fatu. But again, back to my choice of Drew McIntyre and CM Punk,
The
kind
correct
of just
choice.
repeating what Brian and Pete said. Yeah, it's just been just a long going feud. Yet they only like the the feud went on from November of last year, and it was just the feud. Real like it may have the seeds may have been planted at Survivor Series when Punk came back and Drew just marched out. But the feud really started at Royal Rumble when Drew injured him and they worked it into the storyline. And then the trolling and Drew was able to carry this feud for the most part on his shoulders because Punk was injured a good portion of that time. Excuse me. But at least Punk was well enough to actually get involved to keep the feud going outside of the ring by costing him the world championship match at WrestleMania. And when it came to the point when they were actually able to have matches in the ring, granted the bull rope match aside, because I always hate those bull rope match where you got to touch the corners instead of just having it be a one-on-one match just with the guys tied up. Um, when you basically now center a feud around a bracelet and you actually make it work, that's just another factor of just like, okay, these guys know how to take this, just take the most ridiculous things and make really fun and entertaining storytelling to the point where you finally have that blow off match, uh, reassure like putting in that new thing. Why the hell in this like revitalizing is a better term for revitalizing the Hell in a Cell match as the match to end feuds, to end the blood feuds, to find like when normal matches just can't do it anymore. What they were able to do between that from November to Bad Blood, it was just great storytelling from inside the ring, outside the ring, outside in the real world on social media, and wherever they can possibly be to just to mess with each other. I have to give it to CM Punk and Drew McIntyre in particular because he was the one who carried most of the feud.
Very
Just
good.
continuing to show why Drew is just one of the best assets that WWE has right now, and he's still going with it.
Absolutely. I'm not going to fight you on that one. What I imagine there will be have a lot of fights or a lot of differences of opinion at least is this next category, match of the year. That's my pick up next. And you know what? I'm going to stay the course. I mentioned this match as an early match of the year candidate much earlier in the year. And like I alluded to earlier in the show, I'm going to stick to it. It was my match of the year then, and it's my match of the year now. I'm going with Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay at AEW Dynasty. There are a lot of really excellent matches, but this was the standard bearer for most of the year. And very few matches, if any, have even come close to it in terms of quality, excitement, and just dream match potential. Every single metric, I got to go with Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay. Pete, it's your pick up next. Who you got?
I mean, match of the year should be named the Will Ospreay Award because this man puts on 5-star matches everywhere he goes. Where who he's with, he makes everybody look good. You could put him with MJF for match of the year. You could put him with Danielson. There's so much. I am going to go though with Danielson and him at Dynasty. Like you said, my tag team partner, something we can agree on. Because I appreciate when we are on the same page of things, you know. But I'm not gonna say anything more. You echoed beautifully, my tag team partner, beautifully what is this is a must-watch match. This is a dream match. If you are a wrestling fan, you watch this match to watch two just professional athletes go into a ring and tell a story and just make you feel these emotions, just like I'll make you feel emotions at the Royal Rumble.
Oh, I'm sure you will, but don't make promises you can't keep. Moving on, Scholar Tarek, what is your pick for match of the year?
I'm sorry, I'm just still a little taken aback with Pete throwing the emotional line at the end there. So caught me a little. It's like, whoa, okay,
My tag
interesting.
team partner says a lot of things.
Yeah, he does. That just makes me just go. All right, match of the year. Well, I'm I'm looking back on what I said earlier to you, Jeff, and just like throw you out in the cold, throw you out alone in the cold there, and now I'm just now coming open arms with a nice warm blanket and just wrapping my arms around you and just patting your head and just saying, "You're absolutely right." Because I'm also going to go with Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay as match of the year.
Wow, I was not expecting this.
It was basic, like, it was just one of those things. I'm like, I look at we'll just look at what Will Ospreay had with, like I said, like Okada and Kyle Fletcher and Swerve Strickland. And just think all those just long list of potential match of the year candidates. I just look at this one and also just look at the story built around it of just the man the man who's won the most of the Bryan Danielson awards, now having that one-on-one match with Bryan Danielson on a stage such as this. And those two put on art. I can't really add anything more to it. It's like what they were able to do. I even watched the match over recently, and yeah, the only thing you can really describe it is just perfection. These two are the best in the world of professional wrestling, and I could watch that match over and over and over again, and I'll never get tired of it. I'll just keep looking at just the details of certain holds and just think there's this is nothing for them. It's just a simple flow. I can't see any moment where I'm like, okay, there's like a sloppy moment. No, they didn't have that. This was a perfect wrestling match for me, and I just can't think of anything else to top that.
Very good. Now, Scholar Brian, you were the first person to disagree with me when we were talking earlier in the year about match of the year candidates. Will you would disagree with us this time? Do you have something else?
I do not. I
Wow, I
said
did not expect this.
I said at the beginning of the I believe we disagreed on last year's match of the year.
To clarify, this year we're after after Osprey Danielson happened at Dynasty. That was my pick for match of the year. Then later on in the year, when we got Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland for the AEW Championship, you said, "Okay, this edges it out." Uh, that being Bryan Danielson, Will Ospreay. I
And
thought
you
that
want to know why?
why
Because I forgot Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland happened. that my brain my brain went
I did
numb
not.
when everybody said my brain went numb when everybody said Bryan Danielson versus versus versus
Will Ospreay.
Will Ospreay. But once again, it's the emotion factor. Okay, because that's Bryan Danielson wins the title here. We know it's going to be the last time he has it. And that added a little bit more to me. So we do not have an agreement. I am going with Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland for the main fact that Homeboy won the title, the last title he's ever going to have. The match itself was fantastic. Was it perfect? I don't believe so, but the emotions of the ending. It, this is a year of emotions.
It was a
If
very
you
year
get
of
me,
emotions.
if you get me, that's all I need to know. And I think this match was a better wrestling match than Cody versus Roman. And that's why this emotional factor hits more in the match perspective.
And I figured you were going to stick with that. Again, no surprises on my end.
My brain melted for a minute when everybody said the same thing.
Hey, there's a lot in 365 days of wrestling. I can't blame you. That will bring us over to our next category, which is worst match of the year. Scholar Pete, you're up first. Which way you
You know,
going for worst match of the year?
it's upsetting. I thought we were making our own little factional. The four of us, we were going to be the new LWO with Scholar Jeff leading the charge, but then Scholar Brian had to go with a different match of the year. But what's the worst match, you ask? And this is all I'm going to say is just give the title. Is Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill on that SmackDown way back when in the summer. What a fucking piece of trash match that was. I am done talking about this match because I want to talk about happy things.
Fair enough. Scholar Tarek, which way you going for worst match of the year?
Well, funnily enough, although I gave her praise for her improvement in the ring, there are still other aspects that she has to work on, and that's going to be inside the women's war game match. So that's my worst match of the year. I just remember watching it and just going, I don't know why this match is being just very sloppy. And Nia Jax would basically is the big center in front of it. Just I look at that chair shot and I'm just thinking, wow. And I thought my chair shot at that in one XJW show was bad, but oh my God, this ooh, it was just a very sloppy match. I know these women can do better, and they may have just had an off night, but it's honestly the only match that I can recall throughout the year. I'm just going, mm, that one was kind of an eyesore. So I'll just go with the women's War Games match.
All right. Scholar Brian, what's your pick for worst match of the year?
Um, it involves a shark cage. Look, here's the deal. I didn't like the feud to begin with, Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley about a dude. That's a little weird to me. But then you have a shark cage match in which there's a malfunction. Dominic Mysterio gets caught upside down. Rhea Ripley attacks him a little bit, and then you have to change the finish of the match because Raquel Rodriguez fucks up and attacks Rhea Ripley in front of the ref, who is staring right at her when he's not supposed to be. So he has to call the DQ. It's just a comedy of errors. I don't fault it on the participants of the actual match. It's all about the outside content, but you can't have that many fuck ups and not be my worst match of the year.
I'll tell you what, I'm going in a very different direction on this one. I tend to just do the most disappointing match of the year. And for me, that's I'm gonna go for most worst match, most disappointing match, whatever you call it. I'm gonna have to give this to Jimmy Uso versus Jay Uso at night one of
Mm.
WrestleMania 40. I'll tell you, I'm talking when it happened. I talked at great length about the little comedy of errors I had. Now, number one, it was super cold in that arena, especially in the upper decks. So, before my plan at the time was to, oh, hey, I'm going to go to the concession stand. I'm going to get myself a hot chocolate or something hot to drink. The line for hot beverages was so long. I got up before Jimmy and Jay came out for their entrances. I was on the line. They ran out of hot chocolate, so I had to just get the biggest coffee I've ever seen in my life. Pay $8 for it, arena prices for the win. And then I got back. By the time I got back to my seat, finally, the match was already over. And everyone else around me, when I got to my seat, when I asked how the match was, it was the only match of the entire weekend where they were like, "You didn't miss much." So even going back, I was the most underwhelmed when I saw the playback. I was very disappointed, and like for as much hype as Jimmy versus Jay was supposed to get, I I was the most disappointed by this match by far this year. So I gotta give it to Jimmy and Jay. But that was yesterday. Let's focus on the positives. Let's focus on the today. We're back at the top of the order for you, Tarek, for pay-per-view of the year or show of the year, however you want to call it. Tarek, what's your pick?
Notes here. All I can say is there was there was no bad pay-per-views this year. There was no bad PLEs this year. It's just the matter of just what was told on those shows that left a good emotion out. And the only one that left such a big positive impact was WrestleMania Night 2. Everything about that show was just, I don't think there was a single bad thing that came out of that show. I could look at it, I'll probably look at the lineup again, but I just remember of all the wrestling shows that we experienced this year, that was the one that just made me remember why I was a wrestling fan in the first place. So yeah, I'm gonna go with WrestleMania Night 2.
All right, very good. Brian, it's your pick up next. Who you got for show of the year, pay per view of the year, whatever you're going to call it? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's WrestleMania night 2. You had Sammy versus Gunther, which made me emotional
Oh
in a
yeah.
great way because Sammy finally gets. Gunther finally loses and Sammy gets his due. And then Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Cody finishes the story in very epic fashion with many returns and many legends and the whole Mick Foley celebration at the end of the show. So yeah, just the emotional centerpiece of the entire year. You had to get it done, and they did, and it was magical. WrestleMania night 2.
Yeah, I think this one for me is going to be this one required absolutely no thought at all. When I say I'm about as biased as it gets, like take everything you just said and just the fact that yeah, I'm gonna toot my own horn, toot for like 3 minutes. I was there. It was history in the making, and I said it back then. I'm gonna say it once more now. Being there live was, or wherever you were in the world, this was what it's all about. The entire weekend was the stuff fandom was made of. Being there live, the energy in the arena was about as good as it gets. It was as consistently good as any wrestling show I've ever been to in my entire life. And it was just the entire show from top to bottom was just an affirmation of everything that we love about professional wrestling in every single, especially after the rest of the year we had leading up to this. This wasn't more than just of the best wrestling show of the year. This was a triumph in every single sense of the word. I'm biased, but I don't care. I was there. This is the stuff my wrestling fandom is made of, bar none. WrestleMania 40, bam. Pete, close us out. Your pick for pay per view of the year.
TNA Bound for Glory 2024.
Are you actually going to back this up, or are you just trolling us right
No, of
now?
course. We have an accord, gentlemen. We have an accord. WrestleMania night 2. We don't even
I
talk
be
about TNA. You think we're gonna bring TNA and give them that limelight? Come on, it's
well. Hey,
WrestleMania night
if
2.
you
Hey,
seriously though, if you were watching Bound for Glory and you were consistently watching TNA, they did have a very strong year. If you would actually watch Bound for Glory and you honestly believe that to be the best show, I would entertain that thought. I truly would. I would not argue against it.
Yeah, and that's why you're gonna lose the title in Royal Rumble. So let's get back
Because
to
I listen to my friends. Oh, jiggity joy.
So let's talk about this WrestleMania. Like you boys echoed it. What matches, the moments, the legends returning, nothing more said. We had fun with it, but there's obviously a pick. It's what makes you a wrestling fan. WrestleMania Night 2 for the win. Shout out, honorable mention for Turning Point from TNA.
Quit while you're ahead, amigo. But that will bring us to our next match, whatever. We're not in prediction mode. We're in awards mode, so that brings us to our next category, which is worst pay-per-view of the year. And Brian, it's your pick up first. Where are you going?
all right. It's got to be weird to say this because this show actually has one of my match of the year contenders on it, but it also has my worst match of the year on it. It's okay. It's Bad Blood, but it's because it does have that Hell in a Cell match between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. But it's one of those shows where one match is so great, and then the rest of it I could throw away and never talk about again. I had to go on Wikipedia to remember that The Rock showed up at the end of this at the end of this pay-per-view. That's how much the rest of the pay-per-view underwhelmed. Okay. And based off of how good, how I won't even say good or great. I'll say how everything was watchable and enjoyable. Basically, all the other shows. Like I never had an issue sitting through all the other shows, but this was the only one where I had issues. And if that's the case, gotta go with it. Bad Blood.
You'll get no argument from me. As a matter of fact, you'll also get an agreement from me. Without belaboring the point, when I took a top down look at this year as it was, no show made me feel meh as much as Bad Blood did. There's by a pretty sizable margin. So you got nothing more to say about that. I'm also going to join you on Bad Blood. Scholar Pete, what's your pick for worst pay-per-view of the year?
I mean, it's the obvious choice. I hope it's not between us, but it is also Bad Blood. I mean, what a terrible PLE. But I don't want it to be Bad Blood between us. Let have the JP connection be strong, Scholar Jeff. Don't let the bad guys win.
The the bad guys will never win as long as we're around. But
The bad
Tarek,
guys always win.
Tarek, you are not a bad guy. Give us your pick for worst pay-per-view of the year.
Now I wish I had a toothpick just to just to comment on that shot. It was like, uh, funny enough, when I discussed this with Brian a couple days ago, my my prediction and my reasoning behind it was what convinced him to agree to make this the worst pay-per-view of the year. I am also gonna go with Bad Blood. And as much as I was given the Hell in the Cell praise earlier with the CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud of the year, the rest of this card, or okay, it's more specifically the matches that were in between the Hell in the Cell match, opening match, and the tag team match main event that had The Rock show up at the end. The three matches in between were just at a point where I was just not giving one shit of what's going on storyline wise for these matches. If you our audience were able to look at our scholars chat, you can see the long list of me just bitching on how much I was hating this show, hating the matches that were happening, and I'm just getting angry at the results that were happening. This was the only pay-per-view where I just was getting legit, oh my God, this is just I hate the storytelling. The wrestling is fine, but the storytelling I'm just going, are you kidding me with where you're going? But yeah, I'm going with Bad Blood as my worst pay-per-view of the year.
All right. And last but not least, Scholar Brian. I
Oh,
believe we've
Already did mine.
wow,
We
I
all
knew it was gonna happen. I knew I was gonna lose my track of thought. I apologize. So I believe that's everybody.
that was everyone. Yes.
Okay, brilliant.
We all
That will
agreed Bad
move.
Blood sucked.
I like that we all agreed on the pay-per-views, on the PLEs. That was good.
This one I'm a bit more curious about. Our penultimate category, the Need of Clear Liquid Award, or the worst, most downright bad moment happening, whatever of the year. Something we just want to, a swig of something refreshing or intoxicating, whatever your beverage of choice is, swig it down to help you get through whatever madness and disgusting whatever that happened this year. Now, this one was interesting because I went through a few different alternatives. First of all, I went through AEW airing the CM Punk Jack Perry backstage footage. I didn't think that needed to happen. It didn't help anybody. Then I remembered that the incident with the fallout with Soft Ground Wrestling Uganda happened, and all the corruption and funding embezzlement and abuse, the instant souring of sentiment towards Soft Ground Wrestling Uganda. That was really bad too. But then I remembered, wait, this is when the Vince McMahon scandal got set up to a whole new level at the very, very start of the year. Again, Vince McMahon, no stranger to scandal. We all knew bad stuff was coming out, but it just took it to a whole other conceivable level this just very, very early on this year. And it led to the permanent separation of Vince McMahon from everything WWE related, which ultimately, I believe, was the impetus for the WrestleMania 40 that we all got and are celebrating today. But it's hard to ignore how terrible all this appears to be. It's virtually undeniable at this point, and it's just represent while WrestleMania 40 and one other moment in particular this year definitely seems to represent the very best of what wrestling is and can be. This is its ugly, seedy underbelly, and I'm much, much happier to be rid of it. I gotta go with everything the Vince McMahon scandal for my Need of Clear Liquid award for this year. Scholar Pete, which way are you going?
Well, I took this as somebody you just did not want to see on the screen. And I've been
That's
very
fine.
quiet as I have not said this person's name, but I've been waiting all episode to say my clear liquid, of course, is whenever Mercedes Monet is on the screen because she does nothing. I think she's terrible. I think the transition into AEW killed her career. I think she was better as the boss, Sasha Banks. I feel like nothing she does with her character is entertaining. I think she just gets thrown belts at her. I think there was a gift I or a picture I saw where she's sitting in a throne and Tony Khan is on his hands and knees next to her like a dog, and I'm like, it makes me think that that's how the relationship is. Like, I think yes, she may draw money, but for me, I just think that every time, and yes, it's clear that you have to hate, like she's doing her job. If I just think that for what she is at AEW, she is not worth the merit. And it just every time I see, I'm like, there could be so many other rising stars that we could do this with. Like the TBS title could go and make it other stars, make that belt. Why are you keeping it on this woman? Because you don't want her to take away from your thunder that is, you know, May versus I'm blanking. I apologize, gentlemen. Um, Tony Storm, with that juggernaut of a feud. So it's like, what are you doing? Just keeping her in this, oh, I'm just here for appearances. It's what AEW, she's there for appearances. And I just, I need some water.
That's why it's named what it is. And on that note, Scholar Tarek, what is your pick for your Need of Clear Liquid award?
It's actually going to be very hard because I actually just finished my clear liquid, so I'm going to have to be suffering without it. Well, if you've been following us for the past few months, I think I've made it perfectly clear on the one thing that's going on in professional wrestling today, storyline wise, that I am just absolutely tired of. It's gone to the point of change the channel heat for me, and that is the Judgment Day post SummerSlam. Ever since they started hinting of the fact that they're breaking up, all I wanted was for Finn Balor and Damian Priest to go just have their separate feud, and have Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Dominic at a different side. The Judgment Day is no more. It's just now these two groups fighting in a feud. I don't want to see a new Judgment Day versus Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley because I even said it on the show. It's going to be Roman Reigns versus League of Nations all over again. And when you know it, that is exactly what they did. You had the Terror Twins versus the New Judgment Day, and it was nothing more than a one-sided feud that technically is still happening right now, and it's gone to a point where people are just absolutely tired of seeing this. And the icing on the cake for me about this is that they had to pull in Gunther in this storyline and have him be the third wheel of a world championship feud to the point where Gunther is now having confidence issues. And the response to that is people really don't like that story, that character arc for Gunther. And luckily, Gunther was just like, oh, wait a minute. I'm Gunther. I don't have to deal with these two idiots. I don't have to deal with this shit. And he just completely destroyed Finn Balor and Damian Priest in the triple threat match. Uh, at whatever pay-per-view it was. I honestly don't remember when they wrestled. But it's nice. There's the icing on the cake. They had Gunther in there in the first place, and they made him look weak to the point where people are putting Gunther's world title reign as some of the worst things of 2024, and I don't think it's justified. I think it's more just recency bias. I mean, if you look at Gunther's title reign, has it been perfect? No, because one thing, it started because of the beginning of this Judgment Day feud. It wasn't about Gunther winning the World Heavyweight Championship. It was about Finn Balor costing Damian Priest the World Heavyweight Championship. It's just so many different factors, so many different things I didn't want to see in this storyline, which they did anyway, and it was just not entertaining storytelling. And the one other reason why I hated Bad Blood so much is because that event centered around the Judgment Day storyline, to which we get a shitty Shark Cage match, and we get another match where again, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest just have that Roman Reigns Mario superstar to where Damian Priest basically gets like three coup de grace landed on him, and when they're planning for a fourth one, he just gets up and hits the I forgot what he calls it. I'll just call it a T-bomb. He just gives him a T-bomb, and that's it. And then he just walks away like, he didn't take three finishers in a row. So I'm just going, well, this is just lazy storytelling. I don't like it. And I want this feud to already be over, but it's not over. It's not even close.
All right. Let's get rid of the last of the negativity. Scholar Brian, what is your pick for the Need of Clear Liquid Award?
You actually mentioned it before you turned it into the Vince McMahon scandal. This was one I went back and forth on when they first did it because it was depending on how they used it in the upcoming storyline and all that noise. But when it turned out that it really didn't do anything, it had really nothing to do with the story they were trying to tell. At that point in time, it became clear that AEW just wanted to show the CM Punk Jack Perry footage because it was probably because of that REL interview, right? It was right after that they showed it, right? So it's like it's one of those things where it's like it's one thing if you're going to use it as part of a storyline. It got Jack Perry heat for like 2 weeks. That's pretty much the extent of what that did. But it's like if that's all it's going to do, and if that's all that you're going to use it for, it did not look good for your company at all. It didn't. If you're using it for storyline advancement, that's fine. You can use it to advance a character. That's fine. They did nothing with it. They just threw it out there, hope to catch a rating because they announced they were doing it beforehand. They hoped to catch a rating, they didn't catch a rating, and then so basically everything you did surrounding that failed. And that should have told you everything you needed to know, but you went and did it anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the AEW's handling of the CM Punk Jack Perry footage. Not the fact that they did it, how they mishandled it afterwards.
You'll get no argument from me. There was a lot of bad stuff, but then again, there was also a whole lot of really great individual moments as well. So that's going to be our last award of the evening. We're going to go with the You're Welcome Award. The award where it's just the best moment thing, the best happening, the most uplifting, the most joyful thing where we can just look at and we can imagine the person in question just saying, "You're welcome," as we just thank you for just blessing us with such a great moment this year. And Pete, it's your final pick of the evening. What is your pick for the You're Welcome Award?
Well, I mean, it's being your tag team partner, of course. But
A.
I mean, in
All
reality,
right,
let's
that's it.
let's talk about
I'm out of
truth.
here.
It's Seth freaking Rollins. Everything he's done this year has been, I think, fantastic. Working with Bronson Reed, his work with CM Punk, his work with the Bloodline, him in helping Cody Rhodes. Just it wasn't even his year. He never held the belt, the world title. He was always just the guy to be in the stories to help move, develop guys, to develop his own character, to just have great matches, great energy, have the time of his life. You're welcome for Seth freaking Rollins for being such a great WWE character where he is one of the main reasons I tune in every single week. I cannot wait for Netflix on Raw to watch him and CM Punk because I know they're not only going to put on a blockbuster match, but he's going to have some elaborate outfit. He's going to have the promo beforehand. You know that he's going to deliver. And it's I think, embodies right now what Will Ospreay is in AEW. I think Seth Rollins puts on great matches. He puts over stars. He has the work on the mic. He's been there enough. He's been there long enough where he's established where even if he loses, it doesn't hurt him. It's not anything. It's, hey, WWE, you're welcome for having Seth freaking Rollins be the performer and the character that he is at. And that is my pick for the You're Welcome Award.
All right, good stuff. Scholar Tarek, it's time for you. What are you giving the Your Welcome Award to this year?
When I looked at what makes me just proud to be a wrestling fan, I said this earlier, and there's just no way I can't choose the main event of WrestleMania Night 2 of Roman Reigns versus uh, Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Like, I still remember watching that match, and I'm on my feet. I feel like a little kid again. And the best way to like express how emotional I was the second that three hit the mat was I me collapsing on the floor and basically being what Samantha Irving was at that moment. When you just heard just the joy in her voice, trying to keep her voice strong, and you hearing it crack because she's just so emotional with happiness. That was all of us, and I couldn't think of just any more moments this year that I was just in tears of joy and just thinking, this is it. Professional wrestling, it can't get. Hold on, I feel. Okay. Oh no, it's still there. There we go. It's
And
gone.
there's the sneeze.
Sorry about that. But yeah, there wasn't any moment this year that just got me to such an emotional level than just how that main event, just everything that happened in that main event. I was on the edge of my seat. I was so full of emotion. I was just in just tears as the event ended. I can't choose anything other than just the WrestleMania Night 2 main event.
All right. Scholar Brian, what's your pick for the You're Welcome Award for 2024?
Yeah, it's pretty much the last 15 minutes of WrestleMania Night 2. Basically what he said, but I'm going to add in the entire end of the match where everybody started running in and you got to see the Undertaker. You got to see the Undertaker take out the Rock and everybody come in one by one and you have the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns interaction, which is basically what cost Roman Reigns the title. That whole that whole emotional mindfuck storyline that they've been playing for how long now? What was it, like 8 years now? They've been playing around with that. The Shield broke up when
I think they said 10
2014.
years ago.
10 years. 10 years. They it culminated. Everything culminated in one 15-minute time span to quite potentially the most fulfilling moment I have had as a wrestling fan ever. And with everything that I've watched, I came in at the beginning of the Attitude Era. So I think it means a lot when I say that particular 15 minutes could quite possibly the most fulfilling 15 minutes that I have ever had as a wrestling fan. So it only makes sense for it to be my You're Welcome moment of 2024.
I'll tell you what, there were very few moments in the world of professional wrestling like that. I didn't get to hear the call from Michael Cole, damn it, I love professional wrestling, permanently signaling the end of the old guard, the old problematic guard that was holding the WWE back for literal decades. That was undeniably marked the turning point of the it was the official declaration of the Triple H era. It was beautiful. I loved it so much. But I'm not going with that for my Clear Liquid for my You're Welcome award rather. The reason I'm not is for what happened later on in the year. Because as everything, I will sing the praises of the WrestleMania 40 weekend all day long and twice on Sunday. It was the atmosphere was unlike anything I've ever experienced, but something was missing. Something very big and was noticeably absent. Something I cared very deeply about. If the Cody Rhodes moment was recognized the heart of WWE and the heart of professional wrestling, some of the soul was still absent. Something was still missing. That's what I went to WWE World for. I went to WWE World to see one thing and one thing exclusively. I went to go see the Firefly Funhouse in all of its glory in real time because I knew as much as I was trying, me and my wife were trying to get in to see Bray Wyatt time and time again. Oh, first we couldn't get tickets. First, then COVID happened. Then there were more delays. And we realized we were never going to see Bray Wyatt ever again. We were never going to see him wrestle. But we got to see the Firefly Funhouse in real life. We were there. We had it. but the thing still felt like attending a funeral or someone's a memorial for someone you care so deeply about. Like it was beautiful, but in a sad way. It was very bittersweet. But then the Wyatt Six happened. I got to see everything. If Cody Rhodes moment was the heart, the resurrection of the Wyatt Six was the soul. Not only did we, and everything was executed so beautifully, everything, that X factor, that mankind factor, that Undertaker factor, that creative otherworldly thing being applied to Bray's real life brother, the character continuing on, the legacy of the original Wyatt family, Eric Rowan coming back to grieve in a beautiful way, but also expanding it to underused people who I really was a big fan of. Joe Gacy, especially. I would not be shocked if he wins the Breakout Star of the Year award for me next year. Same thing with Nikki Cross. She needed something, and this is something huge to sink her teeth into. And Dexter Lumis. Not the biggest fan of the hair, but damn it, it's Dexter Lumis being used to his biggest potential. It's everything I loved about the Bray Wyatt character. His legacy is continuing on. As much as a lot of it felt like a funeral and it was beautiful and great in that way, to see the emergence of the Wyatt Six and how they're being used and how everything was done, that brought every that was when it really cemented for me. Yeah, there's hope with the Cody Rhodes thing. Hope is alive and there, but with the reemergence of the Wyatt Six, that's when all that hope was realized to its fullest potential. The things I love, the gimmicks and stories and heart and soul that I love about professional wrestling, the thing that originally made me a fan all those years ago is alive. Bray Wyatt hit Bray Wyatt and everything he represents is alive and well in the Wyatt Six, and that's why I cannot help but give it to the Wyatt Six, the You're Welcome Award, because I can not help but say thank you. Sorry for being a little long winded, but there was a lot to it.
Hey, when you got the feels, you got the feels. Let it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, there was a, and there, to be fair, there was a lot to have such good feelings about. Again, it all, so many elements this year just hit us in the feels for so many different reasons. But one thing that is undeniable, no matter what matches you like, no matter what moments hit you the most, no matter who you're a fan of, especially with all of the new streaming deals with WWE and Netflix or AEW and Max, no matter what you like, no matter what you love, pro wrestling is back. And I cannot wait for everything that 2025 has to offer, especially since we're going to be getting SummerSlam in our neck of the woods. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I go. I'm pretty sure you do too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Woo.
Now, with all that aside, we cannot close things out on the Scholars of Wrestling show without your official declaration of one award just for us, and that is Scholar of the Year for 2023. Tarek, you were tabulating the results right before we started recording. Let's not stand on ceremony any further. Please announce the results for Scholar of the Year 2024.
All right. So the lower two sides are going to be a little tricky because the two that end up at the bottom are just because one showed up late for Scholars of Wrestling, and one had to take a hiatus. So with that said, for sixth place, it's for with 65 points, it's Scholar Pete. And now that you're truly a Scholars of Wrestling starting the new year, let's see where you can go. Let's see if you can be the first one that's not that is Scholar of the Year. That's not me or Brian. Good luck with that, sir.
Spoilers.
Spoiler. Yeah, I will. Yeah, there is spoiler on the. That is a spoiler there. So for fifth place, we have Scholar Jeremy with 117 points. In fourth place, we have Scholar Charlie with 164 points. In third place is Scholar Jeff with 171 points. And with that, the Scholar of the Year once again remains undisputed. And second place, yours truly with 185 points, which makes Scholar Brian the Scholar of the Year with 187 points. It was one prediction. It was a one prediction show that made the difference. 1 point off, and you got the prediction win added to that. So congrats, Scholar Brian. You are keeping the Scholar of the Year undisputed.
Even when I no longer hold the title, I still sit on top of the mountain. watching
Uh,
watching over the Scholar of the Year award until some poor soul tries to take it from me next year.
I look forward
uh,
to it.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Legitimate,
This
legitimately, not even kidding. For scholar historians, okay, and Scholar Pete, who might not know this, we have switched off every year from the beginning. Me and Scholar Tarek. It's-
every year it's just like, oh, it's just back and forth between the two of us.
that's why that's why we act the way we do, because no one has taken our spot from us
Nope.
since the beginning of this ride that we have been on. Do you? It's all up. Scholar Charlie has tried. Scholar Jeremy has tried. Scholar Jeff has tried. Scholar Pete is now fully in the running for next year. Who has the guts? Who
Who
will take
has
the glory?
who
This
has the
year I
touch?
hold on to it with both hands.
It's like, who has the touch? Who has the power?
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll certainly find out in 2025 because looking back, I'm always so happy to do these shows because I look back and this is honestly probably one of the greatest years in professional wrestling of all time, bar none, hands down. And there's so much more to look forward to, so much more to get excited about in 2025. And especially with new dynamics here at the Scholars of Wrestling show, especially kicking things off this year with the Royal Rumble just around the corner. I cannot wait to see what happens. It is
Hell,
going to be a great year.
history will be made with Raw on Netflix starting next week.
We are living in the future is now, and I love it. I'm just, I cannot help it but repeat back Michael Cole. Damn it, I love professional wrestling. This is why we do it. But now is the time where we turn it over to you, our fellow fans. What brings you to the table? What did you love about this year in professional wrestling of 2024? What was your best and worst moments, matches of the year? And what brings you to the table? What makes you come alive as a wrestling fan? No matter what you think, let us know all across the internet. YouTube comments, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, whatever you got, wherever you are, we're there too. And if you want to join the conversation yourself, you can check us out on the Twitter machines, X, whatever you want to call it. Join the conversation with us there. Fool, where can you reach you?
You can reach me at the Avatar.
And Scholar of the Year 2024, where can you reach you?
You can reach me sitting on top that mountain at Atomic Beanpole.
And my tag team partner, Scholar Pete. Where can he reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me at Viva La Raza at Improv Beat.
And you can join me enjoying every single moment of what is bound to be an incredible year of wrestling at I'm Robbie Rage. And for all of these relevant social media links and much, much more, check us out at the link below on our link tree. That's linktree/scholars of wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful ride. 2024 has been amazing, and I can't wait for another incredible year. And we're going to be there to cover it all in excruciating detail because we love it, because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're
You're
welcome.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
See you all in 2025 for more incredible adventures. So until
Huzzah!
then, huzzah.